You can now make online payments to Jaffna Divisional Secretariat via GovPay.
The visiting International Monetary Fund mission team led by Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Evan Papageorgiou, concluded its 4-day visit to Colombo today. In an end-of-mission statement, the IMF team emphasised the need for decisive revenue-enhancing measures as Sri Lanka prepares its 2026 budget. This statement by Mission Chief Papageorgiou highlights that the Sri Lankan authorities' economic reform program is yielding commendable outcomes. However, the IMF emphasises that maintaining macroeconomic stability requires sustained efforts to raise fiscal revenues. To continue meeting the medium-term primary balance objective of 2.3% of GDP, the IMF claims that the 2026 budget should be underpinned by strong revenue measures and appropriate spending allocations consistent with program parameters. Upcoming bills on public-private partnerships, state-owned enterprises, public procurement and public asset management should be consistent with the Public Financial Management Act and best practices. According to the IMF's statement, cost recovery energy pricing should be maintained to minimize fiscal risks and support financial sustainability of the energy utilities. The IMF encourages a swift completion of bilateral debt restructuring agreements and acceleration of progress towards operationalizing the Public Debt Management Office. The statement goes on to say that monetary policy should remain prudent and prioritize price stability. A steadfast implementation of governance reforms outlined in the government's action plan is critical to addressing corruption vulnerabilities. Meanwhile, joining an exclusive interview on other Deranas at Hyde Park within the Ivariamawatta today, IMF Mission Chief for Sri Lanka, Evan Papageorgiou, said the worst of the economic crisis is behind.
The IMF continues to emphasize on revenue mobilization through value-added tax and property taxes, and Sri Lanka still is grappling with high cost of living. How much fiscal space exists within the parameters of the EFF program for Sri Lanka to look at improving the living standards while bringing down cost of living that we've seen rise in Sri Lanka?
The crisis of cost of living is hopefully behind us. We think that inflation is on its way towards a sustainable path around the central bank's inflation target of around 5%. So in that regard, we think that the worst of the cost of living crisis as a general over an inflationary environment is hopefully squarely behind us. Protecting the poor and vulnerable is very important and should continue being a primary importance for the government and for all stakeholders.
A portion of the public remains skeptical of the IMF program and concerned about what the cost of these reforms are going to be and what we can realistically expect in the next 12 months to come.
Obviously, the country has been through a lot with an economic crisis and a humanitarian crisis, and we hope that this is squarely behind us, and we have already seen all the conditions of this being satisfied. The first half of the program was about making macroeconomic adjustments and stabilizing the real economy. The second half of the program is the one that we think will put the foundation in for long-term sustainable growth. The reforms that are taking place right now, the upgrade on governance, on reduction of corruption. I believe the next 12 months will be better. There's always risks, but with implementation of these reforms, we hope to continue seeing growth being strong, inflation being on target, and both fiscal and external buffers continue being built that will benefit everyone.
You mentioned the second part is about long-term sustainable growth. Do you see Sri Lanka on track?
Yes, I do. I do. And I hope that the momentum will continue.
Meanwhile, in Washington, IMF spokesperson Julie Kozak said although Sri Lanka's outlook is positive, the economy is vulnerable to external shocks, particularly global trade policy.
Although the economic outlook remains positive for Sri Lanka, global trade policy and uncertainties do pose risks. And so as the team moves forward to the fifth review, which we expect will be held in the fall, they will of course be making an overall assessment of Sri Lanka's economy, including any implications from trade tensions or uncertainty. And of course, they will take that into account in discussions with the authorities on policies and all of the program matters as part of the fifth review.